Well, I'm back again with my 3D printer. Since the last time I built a oversized platform, and the bearing holders I'm using are ones that I printed on the 3D printer. I've also added a spool holder that's holding the spool in place. And then I've modified my extruder a little bit. The knob on the left now has a spring that it compresses. I turned it so I could watch it work, and that was a dumb mistake because the ribbon cable now runs on the belt there, so I'm going to have to turn it back the correct way here eventually. But anyways, now that the extruder is spring-loaded, it's doing a much better job. I don't see any gaps, so you really can't get in there to see things too well. I'm working on a couple other extruder solutions too. This one is a extruder that I printed. It's got two problems though. One, it requires a J-head. I don't have a J-head hot end, and B, the only bearing I have that fits in the groove doesn't make contact with the gear when the gear is on the shaft there, so it needs a weird bearing size that I apparently don't have. 1/4 inch or 8mm bearings are too big. I think that's a 5mm bearing or something that I got in there now. Now it's even smaller than that. It might be 4mm bearing, and it's too small. And then this is a kit to upgrade your extruder. I thought it would fit mine, but it doesn't fit mine for a couple of reasons. One, the hole is off. The hole where the filament comes through is not the same as it is on mine. And two, the metal bar, the metal bar at the bottom of my extruder that's used to mount it in place, can't fit on this extruder because the plastic's in the way. It's thicker. So I thought I'd try making my own little metal bar to go on here to resolve that issue, and then I'll be able to use that extruder with the current hot end, which is threaded on. It's threaded on with, I think it's, yeah, M6. That's why I wrote M6 on here. With a 6mm thread, and hopefully that will resolve the issues with this one. This one's spring-loaded, and the standard gear also has to be in there backwards in order to fit on this thing. And I don't know where you're supposed to put the cooling fan. I suppose if this metal bracket will get hot though, because that's the experience of the current one. You do need a cooling fan on this thing someplace, so I'm not sure where to put that. And this one, like I said, I need the J-head and I need the right size bearing. I think it's called Universal Direct Drive or Direct Drive X or something like that. And hopefully when I can get the bearing figured out and get a J-head hot end, then that one might be usable. But right now I'm doing pretty good with this one. I just took the knob out on the left side and put a spring in there and then screwed the knob back in. I had to shorten up the smallest spring I had. But it seems to be doing pretty good spring-loaded. And it's not, you know, totally compressed on the spring. I can push the bearing back just a little bit. So here we are printing another 10mm bearing mount. This would probably be like number 5 if it turns out. Like I said, I'm currently using 10mm bearing mounts that I printed. Notice I don't have the screw in it to clamp it. I actually glued it because on the first few I made, if I put the screw in to clamp it and tighten the screw, it broke because I'm not getting enough material out of my extruder. There's too many gaps, weak spots. Also, that's a new design too, is that's the oversized Y platform. It's 9 inches by 9 inches. So the screws aren't all the way at the outer edge. I also since the last video, made a different mount for my X-axis stop switch. It's a piece of circuit board holding the X-axis switch in place. Before that was just glued in place, and I think the Y has been like that for a while. Can't think of any other changes I've made, so guess that's all for now.